Hello everyone, and thanks for joining. I'm Oren Malul, and we're analyzing real-life scenarios caught on tape and show you some self-defense practical techniques. We're gonna call Yogev with our first scenario. So let's see what we got here. Okay, so let's see what we have today, and let's actually listen to what the newscaster has to say.
This CCTV footage has been released showing the moment a man was killed with a single punch to the head. Andrew Young, who was 40, challenged a cyclist who was riding his bike on the pavement in Bournemouth on November the 6th last year. After a minute of discussion between the pair, 20-year-old Lewis Gill, an acquaintance of the cyclist, arrives at the scene. The cyclist rides off and Gill appears to turn to follow him, but suddenly lunges towards Mr. Young and launches a single vicious punch to the head. Mr. Young sustained a serious head injury and later died at Southampton Hospital.
Okay, so we have a scenario today, and we actually listened to the broadcaster telling all the story, and what we can see is an argument that is developing between Gil, the guy, and the other guy with the bike. When after the discussion finishes, the friend is actually releasing a punch out of nowhere to Gil's head, and unfortunately, as we heard the broadcaster saying, it finished at death and the attacker was sent to prison. What kind of self-defense lessons we can learn out of here? Absolutely not an easy scenario to handle. But first of all, we can see that sometimes a simple scenario with a discussion that actually looks like it ended with peace can sometimes escalate in a second and finish in a completely different way. So if you are in a certain argument, you have to be aware of your surrounding and understand that in a fraction of a second it can sometimes really escalate, and it could definitely be the difference between life and death, as we know, in one moment. Second of all, we really do not have the perfect technique to teach you when you're surprised with a punch, but a little tip we could definitely give you is you can see the guy with the bike that already went to the other side, and we see the guy that was attacked, Mr. Gill, is still looking at the guy and probably telling him, is closing the discussion, when his friend, okay, is still close to him. That means the threat is not anymore the guy with the bike, is actually his friend who actually punched him, injured him, and then he died from the knockout, the wound, probably the head that was hitting the ground. So you have to handle the threat, and when the opponent with the bike is not there anymore, what you have to handle is the close opponent, is being aware of your surrounding. In a certain argument, things can change in a fraction of a second, as we said. So if you look up in the video and you can see actually the punch coming, we can see that he's not a professional boxer who is surprising him out of nowhere with a punch straight to the face, boom. We can see that the punch is actually, he's being loaded and then thrown to Mr. Gill's head. With a little bit of more attention, okay? And when you're loading the punch, you don't have to be a genius of simply walking back or simply using your hand, because this is a punch that you're able to see. It did come out of nowhere, but because it looked like it completely finished the argument, and it comes from the friends of the guy that started the argument, not the guy with the bike itself. So on one hand, yes, it is really out of nowhere, but on the second hand, with a little bit paying attention to what's happening, I can move back, get the distance, or simply use my hand. If I know how to, boom, react after, maybe I can react also with my own strikes, boom, with my own strikes. Sometimes, as we said, a scenario can escalate in a fraction of a second. You thought it's finished and suddenly a punch to the head. And in our scenario, that finished with the death of the guy being attacked. So till a scenario is not done, as we say, is not done. And when the attacker's friend, especially when it's more than one, he doesn't know it's an attacker, but more than one person is being involved into the argument, pay attention to both of them as you can. And the moment that the first threat is actually away, pay attention to the next potential threat, and maybe you would be able to see the coming punch and act with creating distance or simply reacting with your own defense. Thank you guys for helping.
Thank you guys for joining our Krav Maga class. You guys can stay tuned and check out our Facebook and YouTube page and learn more Krav Maga tips and lessons. Thank you.